What if Goliath was never the end? What if one final giant walked this earth long after the floodwaters receded, long after Israel's warriors thought the Rephaim were gone? What if everything you've been taught about the closing of that chapter, about giants disappearing, was a carefully constructed half-truth, a story trimmed to keep you comfortable? Imagine if the last of his kind did not fall in the hills of Bashan, but vanished into the world's shadows. Imagine if, even now, pieces of his trail lie scattered in forgotten scrolls, erased manuscripts, and whispers among the world's oldest tribes. The wind moans across the Judean desert. Somewhere beyond the Dead Sea, in a limestone cave few dare enter, a brittle scroll sleeps beneath centuries of dust. A single torch flickers against rough-cut stone walls, its light dancing on faded Hebrew ink. The air is dry, thin, like the breath of ancient time itself. Inside, a scribe's trembling hand once traced words he knew could cost him his life. And there remained one, a son of the Rephaim, who crossed beyond the mountains of Bashan. These words were not included in the canon you hold in your hand. They were too dangerous, too destabilizing, too revealing. Scholars in hidden monasteries, Ethiopia, Armenia, Persia, have long whispered of such fragments. The empire and the church fathers ignored them or destroyed them. But the rocks remember, and so do the stones of Bashan. Forgotten tribes. The Bible does not shy away from naming giant clans. The Anakim, the Rephaim, the Zamzumim. Deuteronomy 2:10-11 speaks of them plainly. The Emim formerly lived there, a people great and numerous and tall as the Anakim. These were not fairy tale ogres. They had kings, fortresses, and lineages. Joshua's campaigns drove most out or cut them down, but not all. Deuteronomy 3:11 singles out one survivor, for only Og, king of Bashan, was left of the remnant of the Rephaim. His iron bed measured 9 cubits long, 13.5 feet. Most sermons stop here. Og dies, giants are gone, end of story. But the text itself leaves a tremor. Only Og was left. Only, are you certain the victors recorded every truth? Bashan's highlands are littered with massive stone circles, Rujm el-Hiri, whose builders remain a mystery. Thousands of dolmens dot the landscape, megalithic tombs with capstones weighing tons. To archaeologists, they are anomalies. To local shepherds, they are the footprints of giants. Ancient Jewish midrash hints that Og survived the flood by clinging to Noah's Ark or by covenant with God. Apocryphal texts, like the Book of Jubilees, describe giant lineages lingering into later ages. Could one of Og's sons have slipped through Joshua's conquest? Here is where everything changes. An obscure Samaritan chronicle speaks of a wanderer of great stature crossing into distant lands after Bashan's fall. Ethiopian church lore whispers of a long-limbed stranger who taught forbidden knowledge before vanishing into the highlands. If even one giant survived, one bearer of pre-flood memory, then our timeline is fractured, our sacred histories are incomplete, and our understanding of God's dealings with humanity is shallow. If a single Rephaim escaped, then your Bible is not merely a closed book of ancient victories. It is a map with missing pieces, and if those pieces resurface, they don't just redefine Bashan or Canaan, they redefine you. Because if giants could persist unseen, what else has persisted unseen? What truths have been sanitized? What bloodlines still carry whispers of another world? Travel east to the Golan Heights at dawn. The mist coils like smoke over the basalt. Stand before a dolmen capstone that weighs as much as an elephant. Ask yourself, who is strong enough to lift it without iron cranes? Listen to old Bedouin songs that speak of men as tall as date palms who crossed deserts in a single night. Journey to Ethiopia, where church elders guard apocryphal books that speak of the long ones who came before kings. These aren't isolated myths, they're fragments of a suppressed memory, a memory the empires preferred you forget. But the trail doesn't end in Bashan. A single name, inked in a dying scribe's hand, points far beyond the Jordan, beyond Mesopotamia, beyond the known world. Somewhere in a sun-scorched canyon, a final clue sleeps beneath the sand, and what it reveals will shatter more than Sunday school lessons. Because the last giant did not merely live. He waited. Picture a canyon where the wind screams through broken cliffs. Inside a shallow cavern, shielded from sight, lies a fragment of leather scroll. The words are faint but legible. The wanderer crossed the great sea, bearing the mark of the Rephaim. He vowed to remember what the nations would forget. This fragment isn't part of the canon. It survived only as a smuggled copy in an Armenian monastery. The monks whisper that it was copied from older Samaritan records once confiscated by imperial agents who feared the questions they would raise. Imagine the implication: a giant, not a metaphor, not a myth, fleeing across continents, not destroyed by Joshua's campaigns, not mentioned in polite commentaries, a living survivor. Legends surface in far-flung corners. In Mesopotamia's clay tablets, a figure called Lugal-Anak, the tall king, is said to have arrived from a fallen western land. In the highlands of Ethiopia, priests speak of a long-limbed stranger who carved massive stones and warned of coming judgment. Even in the Himalayas, oral traditions describe a colossal teacher who appeared when the stars shifted and vanished without a grave. Are these scattered tales the footprints of one being? What if Og's bloodline traveled farther than we ever imagined? Consider how history is written. Empires decide which stories survive. Rome decided which gospels you would read. Later kingdoms decided which chronicles deserved ink. Anything that threatened official narratives quietly disappeared. Imagine discovering undeniable proof, a femur too large for human proportion, a carving depicting Israelite warriors dwarfed by their foe. How long before such evidence vanishes into a museum basement or a private collection? The pattern is older than you think. The ancients warned, the stones cry out, but the powerful prefer stones that stay silent. The trail points to one more location, a remote plateau where aerial surveys reveal unnatural stone alignments, visible only from the sky. Local tribes refuse to camp there. They call it the resting place of the Tall One. A carved symbol matches Bashan's Dolmens, and the oral tradition says, "He will rise when men forget." What if that's not poetic hyperbole? What if it's a prophecy that one day, when humanity dismisses its oldest warnings, the memory or the bloodline of the giants reemerges? This isn't just about a giant, it's about erasure. If a single giant could vanish from recorded history, what else has been buried? What lineages? What covenants? What warnings from God? It challenges every neat timeline you were handed. It suggests that divine intervention in human history is far messier, far wilder, far more alive than you were taught. And it forces a personal question. If truths this big can be hidden, how many smaller truths have you ignored? If giants can walk out of the record books, what power, what calling might still be walking beside you unseen? Stand on that plateau at twilight. The air is too still. The stones seem arranged, not randomly, but with intention. You feel watched. You imagine a silhouette, immense and silent, standing just beyond the horizon. Maybe it's only memory. Maybe it's only myth. Or maybe the last giant never died. The empires thought they buried the story. The churches thought they sanitized the text. The scholars thought they explained away the impossible. But the wind still carries whispers, the Dolmens still hold their secrets, and somewhere, perhaps, a bloodline waits. In the next revelation, we will follow the hidden symbols etched into medieval cathedrals, the forgotten songs of nomads, and the prophecies that hint giants may walk again before the end of days. Because once you see it, my friend, you cannot unsee it.